gone in for heavy wood carving. The chair he's making ought to support the world and last a lifetime. A modern sanitary system is one of the first things installed in a conservation camp. Bathhouses with batteries of as many as 30 showers are the rule. But in this sunny climate, it's fun to bathe outdoors. Look these shining torsos over. There are mighty few flat chests in the Civilian Conservation Corps. Reynolds, the second of Florida's Conservation Corps park projects, lies several miles up the coast from Miami. Here, near the Atlantic Ocean, water warmed by the Gulf Stream and sometimes caught in rock pits is a scenic feature typical of Florida. These rock pits are ideal for all kinds of water sports. They abound in fish, mostly brim, which can be easily seen because of the sparkling clarity of the water in its bright stone basin. The entrance drive skirts a picturesque expanse of inland water. Judicious clearing, planting, and general landscaping under expert supervision have added much to its charm. The boys in these Florida park camps worship the sun god. At work or play, they wear just enough to cover the law. Walking in the white sand, their brown bodies in nondescript costumes silhouetted against a tropical sky, they might well swing into a chorus from Gilbert and Sullivan's The Pirates of Penzance. The construction of this 800-foot wall is a fine example of the public work which can be done in no other way so efficiently and so inexpensively as with Conservation Corps labor. The wall is of simple, easy construction, but it's quite a wall, requiring the discovery, hauling, and handling of a great deal of material. It is essentially a job for the multiplication of hands, and hands that need not be highly trained. With nearly 200 workers available in each camp, it's possible to assign to every detail of such a job all the manpower it will stand and get the job done. A soft coquina limestone, native of the community, is being used. It can be cut with ordinary hatchets, and these amateur artisans use them instead of hammers and chisels. A poet wrote of sermons in stones and books in running brooks. So begins a poetic description of Highlands Hammock published in a leading Florida newspaper. It continues by discussing this wonder of the world in terms of a book review. A review of a book not printed, not paged, not bound between covers, yet withal beautifully written beyond the genius of mortal authors, gloriously illustrated beyond the genius of mortal artists. A book whose author is God. There are 1,200 acres in Highlands Hammock. It's long been fenced to exclude animal marauders and human despoilers. Motor roads and foot trails wind through its fertile fastnesses and make accessible its wildwood privacies, closets of long desire. Irrigation has been supplied where needed, guideposts placed, and trees and plants labeled. There are palm groves and lily pools, grottos and rock gardens, trees, herbs, and shrubbery in infinite variety. Wild fruits, clear brooks that go on forever, and a center of interest, a massive laurel oak, 800 years old, rivaling in majesty the great trees of California. Highlands Hammock is a spot of such natural fertility, abounding in growth so different from that which immediately surrounds it, that people stand and look into its denseness with awe. When the 3rd and 4th Conservation Corps camps for park development were established in Florida, one of them was assigned to the Highlands Hammock community at Sebring, in conformity with a long-cherished plan to build there a Florida State Botanical Garden and Arboretum. Conservation work is being done outside the hammock proper, on an extensive adjoining tract which may say officially absorb the gorgeous hammock itself. If you've motored much recently, you've probably seen some of these Conservation Corps camp signs along the highways. Many are built by the boys themselves. Here, an enrollee artist has chosen to picturize the natural characteristics of two Florida parks, Royal Palm and Florida Botanical Garden. Good signs attract visitors, and they're always welcome. Nothing is so convincing of the economic value of the conservation movement now in progress as a first-hand look at what these boys are doing. Enrollees at Sebring are particularly fortunate in their living conditions. The camp is situated on the banks of one of the pretty lakes of the area. Not far away is an elaborate club and community house built during the days of the Florida boom and now untenanted. This property has been placed at the boys' disposal. There are courts for volleyball and tennis and plenty of room for baseball. The lake's fresh, clean water is ideal for swimming, and there are even docks, runways, and springboards. In this company are enrollees from New York, New Jersey, and Montana, as well as from Florida. It is the emergency conservation work policy to assign boys to work in their own state or Army Corps area insofar as possible. But since the more populous states' enrollment quotas are so large, it is often necessary to send some of the boys far afield, and they love it. Here again, as a Conservation Corps camp in the country, the most popular competitive sport is boxing. Camp and inter-camp tournaments are held regularly, and some especially fine talent is being developed. You can't mistake Camp Commander, the Army's representative sent to the camp to look after the boys when they aren't working and to officiate on occasions like this. This method of gong striking to mark the rounds is just the thing to remove the excess weight from the striker. First-time visitors are very interested in the great citrus industry of the nation's southernmost state. The camp at Sebring for the development of the Florida Botanical Garden and Arboretum is in the Lake Wales region, a section known for its grapefruit, oranges, and lemons. Polk County alone in this area claims 83,000 acres of citrus groves which roll away into the horizon. It seems the citrus industry enlists a particularly charming laboring class. Or are these lovely freaks of nature, peaches in the grapefruit trees? Standing high above the Lake Wales country is a structure known round the world. It is the Mountain Lake Sanctuary and Singing Tower, more frequently called the Bach Tower in tribute to the late Edward Bach, the Dutch-American philanthropist who had it built and gave it to the birds who fly and sing around it, and to the people who come there to look upon its beauty and rest in the quiet of its shadow. Conservation Corps enrollees in this region can pause for a moment and see this monument to wildlife conservation against the summer sky. The Emergency Conservation Work Program advanced the recreation idea a half a century, but it did not originate it. Human nature did that. Heretofore, private capital and individual enterprise have developed most recreation spots, and Florida can be proud of her aggressiveness along these lines. Silver Springs, where one may look down through clear, cold water to see strange fish at play, is a perfectly natural resource, which interests, educates, and entertains. Beyond the conservation of natural resources for economic reasons, the State Park Emergency Conservation Work Program aims to create beauty spots everywhere, close at hand, accessible and usable for every man, woman, and child in the country. Important National Park Service work around Sebring and Myakka concerns Florida's serious problem of forest fires. Cattle raising is important in the state, and cattlemen and conservationists do not agree in the matter of fires. Some believe burning makes the grazing grass grow higher. Conservation Corps boys have plowed miles of fire lanes and erected many fences, the former for general protection and the latter to exclude roving stock from conservation areas. How second growth timber is encouraged by fire lanes and fencing is shown by land on opposite sides of the same fence. Devastating forest fires often result from blazes deliberately set for what are considered reasonable purposes. Not all forest fires are accidents. Here's one that might be called a grass fire, carrying the threat of injury to any nearby timber tracts. Some idea of the importance of forest fire prevention work to the state of Florida and to the entire nation may be gathered from statistics provided by the United States Forest Service. They are based upon an analysis of conditions in Florida over the 3-year period from 1931 to 1933 inclusive. The state has 22,652,000 acres in need of fire protection, of which only about 1/20th is protected. On the protected area, the average number of fires per year has been estimated as 1,796. The average number of acres burned over, 131,896, and the resultant damage, $151,330 per annum. In the unprotected areas, there has been an estimated average of 13,733 fires each year, causing an estimated loss of $20,163,500. Since the Conservation Corps has been in Florida, it has tremendously increased the firefighting force and put many a man-hour into the saving of grass and forest land. At 6 o'clock 5 mornings a week, the Civilian Conservation Corps hops out of bed and faces another of these days being given to the rehabilitation of men and a country. Boys between 18 and 25, veterans of the World War, Indians, experienced foresters, and park planners swarm out of camps in all the states and several foreign possessions. The housing, feeding, and clothing of the Corps is the business of the United States Army. Comfortable barracks, wholesome food, all conveniences for the good living and good health that has built an average of several pounds onto the body of every enrollee. There are facilities for the continuance of educations, upset by disordered economic conditions, and planned athletics and other forms of healthful recreation. "18 months after it came out of President Roosevelt's farsightedness and into reality, Director Robert Fechner reported that the Civilian Conservation Corps had done park, forestry, and erosion and flood control work valued at $291 million. They had constructed 42,000 miles of truck trails through forest and parklands. To better combat fire, they had built 25,000 miles of telephone lines, opened up 27,000 miles of fire lanes, and reduced the fire hazard on 825,000 acres. In reforestation, they planted 204 million trees and improved the timber stand on 1,392,000 acres. Recreation also loomed large in the picture, especially in the development of 3 million acres of state parks. Here, indeed, in this army of youth and peace, pouring massed manpower into the breach, is the instrument so long needed to put into action the blending of conservation and recreation.